Is up, everybody? What's up, Josh?
What's up? How are you doing? Good morning from my end. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, it is. I'm doing good. Had a good weekend. How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. Other than earlier in the week, I was playing with my 3-year-old on the jungle gym and I completely ripped my ankle,
Oh
twisted
no.
it, rolled it, had to go to the ER. I'm in a walking boot. So that's when you know you're getting old and embarrassing when you can't even keep up with your 3-year-old on the playground.
No. Any tears or anything?
Well, I haven't. I have to see a specialist. It's all
Oh
swollen and bruised
no.
up. It's just more than anything. The saddest part about it was I had to disappoint my daughter and say, "We have to leave early because Daddy's got to go to the hospital."
Oh no.
But I'm good. Luckily, for this morning, all I got to do is sit here, so I'm good.
And folks, if you're first of all, if you're on my channel, please make sure you're subscribed to Josh's channel, CR Confidential. We are streaming from both channels. This is your first live, so this is awesome. I'm very excited to do this together.
Yes, thank you.
Donna Adelson hearing, folks. I have looked, and I was just talking to Josh before we start here. It's so bizarre to me that Long Crime doesn't have a feed up for it. Tallahassee Democrat doesn't have a feed up for it. But don't you worry, folks, because I have the Zoom. So as long as this is the same Zoom for Judge Everett that was for the last appearance and the last one, we should be good. I have it up. It's not starting until 1:30. I figured we'd start a little bit early, talk about it, but hopefully this is the same thing and we'll be good to go. So
yeah, this might be the last hearing before they just launch into trial, right? Because they've moved the trial date up a couple of weeks. So it's, quickly approaching. They don't have many of these hearings until they get started. I mean, once they get started, they might have some, evidentiary discussions, but usually at that point, it's like, you've got a jury waiting and you're going to be getting going soon.
Yeah, talk about this as either a prosecutor or a defense attorney. Today is July 22nd. The trial is going to start September 17th. If you're like you're just ready to, at this point, you have to be like you're getting the final stuff down, right? Like you are ready to go.
And even more of an indicator of that is that the defense asked for the trial date to be moved up earlier by a couple of weeks, meaning you would have thought if that was the time, they would have been asking for more time if they felt like they needed it. Usually the prosecution is not the one asking for time because they're under, kind of constitutional requirements and everything else. And they better be ready to go. Plus, this is not exactly their first rodeo when it comes to the Adelson crime contingencies. So they're ready to go. And the fact that the defense asked to go a little bit early leads me to believe that everybody's ready to go. I imagine this is just kind of a final status, making sure there's not some sort of witness concern or something like that. I mean, you can always show up to one of these hearings and have it derailed and have it say, no, we need more time. But I imagine we would have heard that at the last hearing. And this is just going to kind of be picking dates and making sure they've got exchanged all witness lists and other exhibits and documents they need to beforehand. And we'll be looking at trial next time we're talking about this case.
And speaking of, it'll be interesting to see if there's any mention of old Charlie Boy being added to the witness list. If there's anything from the judge, like, I know I already did your waivers, you guys already did this, but now he could be called as a witness. It'll be interesting. And from what I've seen, folks, I don't typically there's some sort of form or waiver if the person Donna is going to be there, like a transportation thing. So I think she'll probably likely be via Zoom, but we will see. Josh, I played her first hearing in front of this judge. I posted it to Twitter. 4 minutes and 41 seconds it took before the judge had to admonish her to be quiet. So for folks who thought that because Charlie Adelson made a lot of faces during the trial. He laughed at a certain point during the trial. He was very cocky, you could just tell he was just thought it was a joke. If you Donna is going to be something, I feel like 4 minutes and 41 seconds before a judge had to be like, hey, stop. You can't be talking. You have to wait. And this judge is he's awesome. He's very calm, cool, and collected. But to me, that's an indicator of what she's going to look like as a witness.
Yeah. If the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, now we've got the tree in court, and she's the one that the kind of sociopath matriarch of this whole family. And it is pretty. I mean, from the get-go, though, when you saw her getting arrested, you could tell that this is an incredibly entitled woman who is used to getting her way and used to kind of bossing people around and making complaints. I imagine there are a string of waiters in her wake who have had to take back orders and fix things because she just seems like that type of person. So yeah, it's pretty remarkable that even in court, looking at spending the rest of her life behind bars, she still maintains that kind of an attitude.
Yeah, and I also tweeted this morning because I was thinking about this. I am really curious if Harvey is going to be, or her husband is going to be in the audience of this trial. I feel like it would look just really bad,
Yeah.
and I just if he's not there, he's in a lot of this too. Like, and what happened during Charlie's trial was like, is this a trial for Charlie or is this a trial for Donna? And obviously, very quickly after, when she tried to flee, she realized too, I'm in this thing. So I'm so curious to see if Harvey's going to be there on her side. Wendy obviously was not there for Charlie, so she'll testify, but I don't anticipate her, staying in the courtroom. But
Right.
I'm really curious to see if Harvey is there.
Yeah, optics are important. I'm sure her attorneys are telling her it would be important for him to be there. It's important, I think, anytime to just show some support on the behalf of the defense. And even if the jury doesn't quite understand who the people in the audience are, a empty courtroom in support of someone speaks probably more loudly than just having a couple of people there.
Yeah, and as of last time, behind the prosecution table is jam packed. It's packed. There
Yeah.
are people there for support. There's Ruth, Phil, Shelley, the family. So I'm really just curious to see if he's going to be there. Donna will have you believe he probably can't even get to the courtroom by himself. Like he's just like that's what he's 80 years old. You can't arrest me and take me
Right.
down. How is he going to get home? Which is just something to see. Which it's what you talk about. I'm sure she just browbeat him down all the time, just getting just an idea of what she's like.
Did you
So
did you put in your poll that he's still waiting at the airport
yes,
for
that
a
was
ride?
that was I put the third option. Like he's still just there. He's just waiting. Like, can someone bring me home? I can't. I'm just stuck here. Because that's what she's trying to like. You can't
Yeah.
arrest me because how is he going to get home? And then he is like, you can't cuff her. And that's one thing
Well,
that like, go ahead.
no, I mean, but you're right. Think about that attitude. You're being arrested for murder, and you think that your own inconveniences are going to somehow trump the concerns of the police at that point.
Right.
That she honestly felt that they might say, "Oh, you know what? We can't arrest this lady. She's got to take him home first."
Right. It's remarkable she didn't ask for the officer's manager. Like she's like,
Exactly.
"Oh, can I speak to your manager? Can I speak to the judge's manager? Can I speak to the prison's like that was the issue with that hearing was she first of all, she was fleeing the country. Second of all, she's talking about on jail calls that she's gonna unalive herself. And then she's like incredulous when they have her in solitary and they have this hearing to be like, you can't like you have to be, we have to watch you. And then she's making these faces like they heard your calls. We have
Yeah.
your call. They
Yeah.
heard it, and still she's incredulous that this is happening to her.
Yeah,
Donna Adelson. How dare that they do this to her? It's really
she's a bit of a nightmare. And she's not going to be able to turn that off just because there's 12 jurors in the room either. I mean, I think that, and believe me, jurors pay attention to that stuff, especially if it's this kind of indignant reaction to things. Jurors just naturally want to see how the defendant is reacting to different points in trial. If something, really powerful comes out in testimony, their eyes all dart over to see how the defendant's responding, like we do with anybody. We just, when somebody's talking about someone, everybody, all eyes in the room go to that person that's being talked about. And if she's going to have this kind of indignant, whispering loudly to her attorneys, constantly sighing loudly, she's going to have problems just in the eyes of the jurors alone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And by the way, folks, I probably should say, and maybe Josh, have you introduced for even on my channel? I think most people know who you are because you've been on a few times. But maybe just introduce yourself and just tell the folks about your channel. Because please, if you're on our channel in our chat, please stop over. Even if you're on our chat, go on the other chat, like it, subscribe. You're very close, by the way. I didn't check, but you were so close to 4K. So I'm hoping we get you to 4K. Please go
that
over
would be
there
great. That
and
would be great.
subscribe. But you don't only cover like obviously Donna Adelson. You're covering like everything, right? Like talk about with the courtroom confidential.
So I was a prosecutor for 10 years in the LA District Attorney's Office. Then I left and I've been a defense attorney for about as long. And a few years ago, I started a podcast, or I didn't start a podcast. I became involved with a podcast called True Crime News. And I do what's called the sidebar on their podcast. It's a very popular YouTube channel, but it wasn't something that I started. And then just recently, 3-4 months ago, we decided, you know what, we want to do our own thing, because I wanted to do more of this, more kind of live reactions, more kind of interaction with people who are followers and subscribers. And so we started a channel called Courtroom Confidential. And we do a weekly show every Friday for sure, that just kind of follows everything that happened during the week. And then as I'm getting more into this, I'm trying to provide more and more content. So we've done, shows recently on, Sarah Boone was a show that we did. We did a lot on Alec Baldwin. We're trying to dip into other cases that are, stuff that people follow and are interested in. Adelson for sure is a case that we've been following. But then our next kind of step in the evolution of this channel is we're going to try to get into more live content. And so thank you very much, Jay, and to your entire subscriber base for allowing me to kind of dip my toes into this whole thing and piggyback off of your live feed this morning. So this should be fun.
Of course, and we if there's nothing else that our group here does, is we support other channels. So I know our folks are going to be supporting you when you do your lives, and going forward. And I talked to Josh. We have a plan, and I'll talk about. We might do a live where we kind of check out. We watch Charlie Adelson's testimony, but specifically, I want to kind of zone in on where he brings in Donna in his testimony regarding this extortion theme, because there's certain stuff he's not going to be able. She's going to have to use, right? Like unless she just says her son is a filthy liar, and it's like she's going to have to kind of go with at least part of that story. So
that should be very interesting. And I did go back and watch Wendy's initial police interview again.
Oh boy,
recently, because I know you were shocked by kind of my reaction to it, and I know that a lot of people who watched the last time we were on together were incredulous with my response to it. And I will say this. First of all, let me say I get it. Like, I get everybody watching that, knowing what we know now and their response to her. And I fully understand where people, can see the manipulation or she has some interesting responses at very unique times during that interview, where it does seem like she's very concerned with what the police know and what they may be thinking about her. Okay. That all being said, what I will say too is that we were talking about what is the chances of her getting prosecuted? Are we going live?
Joint audio by computer. I hope that's. Yeah, I think we are. Hopefully we can hear everything. I'm muted. Good. That's my biggest concern, that I'm gonna somehow talk and everyone's gonna.
All right, jail. If you can go ahead and.
Can we all hear that? Oh, we're bringing in Donna from jail. Did everyone hear? Did you hear that, Josh, when he said that?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Thanks for being here, by the way, everyone. Please hit that like if you haven't already, and we'll get it back into. I want to go further into what you were talking about.
Jail, if you can hear me, please turn on your audio and video.
Please put on Grandma Gotti. Let's bring her on. It's like you said, it's like a criminal syndicate. Oh, they're not responding. All right. Judge Everett, by the way, I don't know if you've watched him. He's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. While we're waiting on the jail, I'll allow the parties to make their appearances.
Sir Catherine Dugan on behalf of the state.
Alex Morris on behalf of Adelson.
They need to use
All right. As soon as we can get things straightened out with the jail, we'll go ahead and make sure Miss Adelson can see and at least see and hear me. She'll be able to hear you all through the mics. If you want to log in, go ahead and do that now yourselves, please. If you can radio them to turn on their video and audio.
Oh, I wonder if there's a way I can just.
I guess I also need to make sure. For anyone else who is on the Zoom call, if you can respond in the chat, if you can actually hear me.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not responding in the chat. I'm sure someone else will. I don't want him to know I'm here. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm trying to put this on. Let's see. Hide self view. That should just put him on, I assume. Let's see. I just don't want to mess this up. Oh, on view, gallery view. Nope, don't want that.
Go ahead.
Nope, don't want that. There we go. Hide non-video participants. All right, there we go. Sorry, guys. I typically cover like people that are using this feed, so now we should be good. Looks like the chat has responded to him, so that's good. It didn't have to be me. Yeah, that was me. That was Jay. Yes, Kai. Everyone's worried that I'm going to be talking, but I'm on mute, guys. It's okay. We're on mute. They can't hear us.
Well, half the battle is getting logged into the machine.
Oh boy, there she is.
She is.
No glass. Oh nope, there are glasses.
Good thing this is only a stove.
Jan, thank you so much for gifting out a membership. And we got a member too. Let me see who the member was. Carolina or Carolina. Thank you so
All
much.
right, I see her now. Miss Adelson, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. Give me one moment. I only hear your audio coming through, not the overhead speaker.
Again, folks, if you're coming in, oh, there's Alex Morris, the other
Right,
counsel.
can
Oh, there's
everyone hear
Rauschbaum.
me?
There's both counsel.
Yes.
Looks like she got a haircut,
Hmm.
folks. Yeah.
Isaac, I think this is only coming through my computer.
Was this her request not to come to court? Do we know that?
I don't know that. That's a good question. Hey, Joanne. Thanks for being here, everybody, as we check out this conference, this possible last conference before trial, September 17th.
Right. Miss Adelson, I want to test your audio one more time. If you can tell me the name of your high school mascot.
It's been a few years. Oh my God.
John Bone.
I cannot tell you. I don't remember my high school mascot.
These are the things that are
Judge
burned into the
cracking
brain,
jokes.
but
I know.
anyways, not why we're here. We can hear you now over the loudspeaker.
What a bizarre exchange.
Video
that
and
was.
your audio is working. All right, we're here today for a status before we get to, I believe, some of our cutoffs and also our deadlines. I'll allow both parties to be heard if the state wishes to go first.
State does not wish to be heard today. We're ready for trial and intend to comply with the deadlines that the court gave. The defense and I did have one agreement about a deadline that they possibly wanted to push back by, I believe, 2 weeks. They had asked if they could push back the demonstrative exhibit deadline till September 4th. We don't have an issue with that. We believe we'll be able to comply with everything in the judge's order. The only Sergeant Corbett's presentation sometimes can take a little longer, as I know last time it changed a couple of times before trial, just minor changes that he made. We were able to keep defense up to speed with that and had agreements as to that. We've talked about that and intend to do the same thing this time if we could have the deadline of September 4th for our demonstrative exhibits. We can give him a pretty finalized rough draft of that by that point, and any minor changes that do need to be made, talk to the defense about that after that time.
All right. If the defense can explain why you would like this to be pushed back, and the only reason I ask this question is because once everything is filed pursuant to the deadlines, we need to have probably at least a 2 or 3 hour hearing on all pretrial motions. So I don't want the start of the trial to be bogged down by needing a ruling on a particular issue or motion, but I'll allow you to explain.
Judge, I think the construction of some of the demonstratives,
In this case, it was a different case factually than those that have been tried before. But just the construction of them meshing them with electronics that we're going to have available, I would just like, we've got some room as well.
His mic is muted on the top. You can see that. That's why we compare. I think we're hearing it through the judges.
Yeah.
And I assume both sides are going to want the headsets and the various audio media aspects for the jury once again.
Yes, sir.
Very well. Then going back to the order setting the procedure dates and also the deadlines as far as any demonstrative exhibits, then I will permit both sides to have until September 4th to ensure all demonstrative exhibits are traded between the two parties. As far as the witness list and the exhibit list itself, there's really no reason why August 12th that cannot be met, correct?
That's fine, Judge.
That's correct. We would like it to be so. Likewise, Judge, we do have an agreement with the Appleman with respect to some of the
Really wish this guy would unmute himself.
Yeah.
Donna Adelson emails, but it won't be more specific than that in prior listing. Talking to Appleman about being more specific when they're listed, with the understanding and caveat that that would be a rolling list that could be supplemented. Just to bring focus to it, rather than digging through 50 hours for orders or 5,000 emails for everything. So if you want me to do anything on that, that's what our agreement is. But on this, our August 12th deadline would remain the same.
All right. Do we need to address the modification to the trial date any further as to September 17th being the first day of selection?
No, sir.
Right. Time-wise, I would expect we're probably going to be similar to the last trial where we have at least 3 days or 4 days of selection. Assuming we are successful, we would get started, and then we would have about a week or maybe a week plus of trial. Do the parties have a differing expectation of this?
Stretched out the number of witnesses. Normally are more focused once you get to August 12th, but I had some concern with the volume of witnesses that we on.
Well, good thing I help everyone along in this process.
Now that may drastically track. There are several witnesses that are very short and simple things that we know that stipulate knock those things out of the way. But I would be leery of telling you that it all fall within the confines of 1 week. Like 2 weeks, you can push hard for.
Okay. Well, we have until, or you have until August 12th, I should say, to iron out aspects of this. Ms. Dugan, at least preemptively, would you expect the state's case to last for about a week once again?
Yes, sir. And I think last time or the last 2 times we have been able to pick a jury in 2 or 3 days, and the state's case took about 5 days. I would expect for it to be about the same.
Very well. Are there any other issues that either party needs to raise for the status as of today?
Judge, we're going to be filing several motions, some of which you've never heard before. And some of them are going to deal with, for instance, just so the other side knows, we are going to move to Sergeant Corbett's testimony, which
Very well.
affect the positives, but we think we can do that even without CC. But one of the motions that we intend on filing, I just want to let the court know beforehand because it might affect scheduling of courtrooms. We're going to ask that the trial not be in this room.
For 3G?
What's that?
For this courtroom, 3G?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The trial be held in your courtroom 3G. And we have a variety of reasons why we think that courtroom will, for the client, better due process than this courtroom does. And so we're filing that motion and we'll file it on time. But I just want to give you a heads up so that if there's a scheduling issue, you're aware that that motion is down.
Very well. Really, until I can see the motion and the state makes its argument, I won't be able to make a ruling on it, and that'll happen in time. As far as selection itself, though, we may still need to use this courtroom just to hold the sheer volume of prospective jurors that are needed. But as to the courtroom the trial will occur in, that certainly we can address with the motion.
And the motion, the motion contemplates it.
Right. Ms. Dugan, any additional matters the state needs to address for today's hearing?
No, sir.
Very well. To go back to the scheduling order, our next set of deadlines will be discovery on August 12th, the motion filing deadline August 12th, the witness list and exhibit list also on August 12th. And I believe our pretrial hearing, not referring to the motion hearings that will be filed, but just the final pretrial will be September 12th at 9 o'clock. Mr. Morris?
With the advent of some of the new discovery, never take the deposition. Work with Ms. Adelson. We can coordinate this by doing it necessary to this travel. We can bring it up. There's probably a chance that the depot dates that are going to be after the August 12th date that we will be set and noticed at that point. Hope that's the
Set noticed meets the deadline, hopefully, so this doesn't become a similar issue like it did last time. If we need to address a particular aspect of discovery that needs to occur, possibly after the 12th, go ahead and move in advance for that so it does not become an issue of anyone violating the deadline or attempting to take or seek discovery after the deadline is passed. Okay. All right, with that being said, this status is coming to an end unless anyone has anything else you need to bring to my attention.
Nothing, sir.
All right. Ms. Adelson, were you able to listen and follow along to my discussion with the attorneys?
I could hear you. I could hear nothing that the attorneys were saying.
All right.
Us either, Donna.
I really can't ask them to repeat themselves in full, but your counsel have asked to set back one of the deadlines to September 4th. I have agreed to do that concerning demonstrative exhibits. All other deadlines are going to remain in place. They will speak with you concerning any other issues that you need to discuss with them about today's status. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. We are in recess. Have a good day, everyone.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry that Alex Morris did not figure out how to unmute himself. Nonetheless, as you heard, he asked to. All right, let me take this off here. Asked just about. He also asked. They asked about the courtroom. They had an issue with the courtroom. I heard that much, which was interesting. Not sure what his issue with the courtroom was. Although we did see that in we just saw that in Karen Reed, where
Karen
they had
Reed,
an issue
yeah.
with the courtroom.
I was going to say, since when did attorneys start getting so picky about the courtroom?
Yeah, like, what is his issue? Like,
and he said it's tied to. I don't want to derail you were going to do a rundown of everything.
No,
but it was tied to her due process rights. What could possibly? It's going to be interesting to hear what those arguments are. And the judge didn't seem bothered by it. I mean, that judge is a cool character, but he didn't seem to be dismissive of that out of hand. He's like, okay, I'll hear what you have to say about the courthouse. If you want to change courtrooms, we'll go ahead and do that. Very interesting.
I wonder if it's like he wants a smaller courtroom with less of an audience.
Yeah.
You know, for folks who didn't follow the Karen Reed case, the issue there was the defense said the jury could not get a good view of the witnesses, so they wanted these other court, and they ended up going into this tiny courtroom, which was much smaller than the one that they were initially in. So it's just an interesting thing. Also, there was, I don't know if you could hear it, Justin, there's some mention of additional discovery and I think possible depositions. It was hard because the dude was muted, but
yeah,
I think that they want to, like, I guess, go through some of the stuff that has been sent over from the state to them before they like commit.
Yeah, he set deadlines for, it sounds like, the exchange of all witnesses, discovery, motions, and exhibits by the 12th of August, which is, to me, that was none of that was extraordinary except for the discovery thing, because I'm so used to, where I practice, discovery is handled way in advance of all of this, because it's like, you have to turn this stuff over and everybody has to exchange everything they have, because that's one of the biggest reasons to ask for a continuance is late discovery. All of a sudden we're finding out about something and we need all this. I mean, by the way, that was the issue with Baldwin. The whole case got kicked because it was a discovery issue. They hadn't turned that over. Now, there was bigger problems with that as far as it maybe perhaps being buried, but that's why just handing over discovery is so important. So it was funny to me that he wants a deadline for that just a month out from when they expect to actually start the trial. But yeah, then there was discussion of the demonstratives being exchanged. Demonstratives are basically anything that's not a evidence related exhibit. So timelines, family trees sort of stuff, anything they're going to use to kind of be helpful that they're going to create, which is also interesting too, because that means that the defense will, to some extent, have a little bit of a roadmap for what the prosecution is going to say in their opening, and vice versa, by at least being able to see their demonstratives and understand where they're going with things. Again,
go ahead.
No shocker here. I mean,
they've seen it. It's not going to be much different than Charlie's trial. They've seen, or the other trial. This is number 4, folks. It's not going to be much different. They know where they're going with this, and that demonstrative, their PowerPoint, I've said it 1,000 times, is one of the most powerful things, particularly when they're showing the messages going from, Donna to Charlie to Katie Magbanawa to the hitman. Like, it just shows it, and it's multiple times, when they're going for the hits. I mean, it's just very clear that linearly they show you that, like, it would be hard not to be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. It's and the bump. If for folks who are not familiar with what they call the bump, which is they set up Donna Adelson. They pretend that one of the FBI is one of the FBI is a Latin king, and they say, hey, my guy is not getting taken care of, one of the hitmen, so I need you to take care of this. Like, you need to pay me. And what they say this in trial, where they're trying to figure out what the order of events is, and guess what it is? Donna gets bumped. She contacts Charlie. Charlie contacts Katie. Katie contacts Sigfredo Garcia, the hitman. So it worked exactly as they planned, despite.
I was going to say that's exactly what they intended it to do, and it did. It's like a string of dominoes. They knew if they just gave the first one a nudge, they'd all fall apart.
Right. And for anyone who's going to watch Donna Adelson's trial and not think that this woman, if she had nothing to do with it, wouldn't be like, holy shit, I'm calling the police right now. Outside of I don't know if you know this, Josh, she is outside of her condo, walking to her grandkids' school to pick them up. For anyone who doesn't think that this grandma who wasn't involved, like if it was my mom and she would be calling the police, probably crying, having a heart attack. Where meanwhile,
witness protection, move our family where, the response would not be what it was from her.
Yeah, and she just takes her little. Because for folks who don't know, I know most people do, but she takes her little note, puts her in a little fanny pack, just walks to the school, picks up the kids, like she's going to get her grandkids. She wouldn't be like flipping out, like, please call the school. No, and then she goes back to her house, calls Charlie, and then when their conversation is one of the things that's going to just be that why they're guilty is just like, so they handed me this thing about the thing, in more or less words, like the TV.
It's like listening to mobsters talk. I mean, it's all in code, and they all, he gave me a thing about the thing. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, it was just like so obvious that this woman is fully aware of how she's involved.
And she goes back to her code, which is the TV, which is what they used, to repair the TV back when Dan Markel was killed. They go back to the TV was $5,000. What did the hitman ask for? $5,000. It's one of the most damning pieces of evidence in this whole thing. Yeah. And for folks, to talk about the discovery, for folks who haven't seen this, and if there's anyone in Florida who's good at FOIA and stuff to get this stuff, because other people have got it, I don't know how to get it, but some of the discovery has been released. Some folks have. And one of them is a message from Donna to Wendy. And I think it's right around when Charlie gets convicted. I'm not sure, but the message is already, your brother protected you for years. Now you're not guilty. Your lawyer took very good care of you. You can bury me in the dress you bought for Lincoln's bar mitzvah. So this is new discovery that just came out. Her messaging Wendy. And by the way, if she takes the stand, George is gonna be like, so what is this message that you're sending
Oh
to
my God.
your daughter, Wendy Adelson, that says your lawyer took good care of you. Your brother protected you for years. Your lawyer took very good care of you. Oh, or no, I'm sorry. Your brother protected you for years. Now you're not guilty. Your lawyer took very good care of you. What, Josh, possibly could that be about if Wendy was
And
not
that-
involved in this?
You're right. You're absolutely right. And the, even the impact that will have on her scrambling to explain that is going to reflect back on the guilt of Donna, right? Because you're saying, well, Donna doesn't have to testify for that to come out. They're going to be able to get that out through Wendy if Wendy testifies, which I imagine she's going to.
Oh,
but
okay.
even if she doesn't, they're probably still going to get that out because it's a statement of the defendant. Basically, any statement that Donna has made up until now, they can get in front of that jury.
Which includes her jail calls, which are
Includes
just
jail
so
calls.
incriminating for her, for Charlie, which includes her fleeing. We're going to have the messages about, we know there's witnesses who are going to testify to them. So a guy who was like, yeah, who tipped off the feds and was like, hey, yeah, she reached out to me that she's going to take a one-way ticket to Vietnam. I thought you guys should know that. So to me, I mean, you never know with a jury, but
well, that's powerful stuff too. My experience, jurors really get jazzed up about the conduct of the defendant after they've been accused of something, after they've been arrested, after they've been implicated, because jurors naturally put themselves in the position of the defendant and they say, how would I react? Like you just did. If somebody confronted you on the street, handing you that note, talking about how, you need to take care of this, your natural reaction is to immediately call the police. And so the jurors do that same thing. They go, how would I react under those circumstances? How would I react if my son had just been convicted? And buying a one-way ticket to Vietnam is powerful stuff because I think it just speaks volumes to jurors as to, her guilt. Sometimes it's even more powerful than the stuff they did beforehand is the way they conduct themselves afterwards.
Now I want to go back to, because you were talking, sorry, I guys on the Zoom, I can't pause like a live feed, so I wanted to get right to the hearing. But you were talking about, you took a lot of heat because you said, like, you took a lot of heat. And I just want to say, like, we just have to all remember, particularly folks like myself who have watched Wendy Adelson's police interview more than I'd like to admit. I mean, I'm probably in the 50s. Because I make videos about it. I've seen it several times. I know all this stuff. I've seen all the trials. Like, in Josh's defense, like, and Shannon, my wonderful wife, she said her mom also watched it initially, but she watched like parts from like the one of the specials, and she's like, oh, she looks believable. But then if you watch the whole thing all the way through, it's a different story. So go ahead, finish what you. I'm sorry if I cut you off before. But
No, I got a lot of heat for that, and understandably so, because I know that especially the people who are subscribers to your channel are very educated on this case and have been following it closely, and so I think you watch it through a prism of kind of knowing everything that came before and afterwards. It's easy to see how this was a elaborate kind of performance she was putting on. I guess what I will say, though, is that the reason we were talking about that is we were curious as to why prosecutors haven't indicted her already. And I think the prosecutors are looking at that from how is a jury going to receive it? And it's one thing to sit around and go, see, doesn't she look to be obviously lying there? But you don't know how jurors are going to perceive it. And here you've got this woman who's crying and appears to be emotional and appears to be shocked by a lot of things she's being told. And maybe they're wondering, is it take too much of a nuanced approach to that interview that it might not have the impact that they see it, that you see it, that others see about it? Again, I'm fully willing to admit that I might have a different opinion on this than a lot of other people.
I'm so glad that you do, because if we live in this echo chamber, I talked about this in other trials. You gotta hear it from other people. You just have to. I still think she was full of it, but we juries shouldn't, if they're being honest, know any of this stuff. They should go into this flat out not knowing. But I will say, from what I understand, the first trial. First of all, I don't know if you know this, Josh, the first trial, the jury was allowed to ask questions, and they had a couple questions for Wendy. And one was about why she wouldn't let her grandkids see their, Dan's parents. One was about I forget but they had questions for her, and from what I've been told, they were really thought she was full of it. So I don't think she is gonna, but we don't know. But we do know, just as far as her interview, they're gonna be using it in Donna's trial because they've used it in every trial. They've pointed out things she said, because one of the things she does in that interview, which was damning for Charlie, it's gonna be damning for Donna. She puts out her family as suspects.
I know.
She puts them out like almost immediately. Like I've talked about this before. There's two binders that Georgia, the prosecutor, goes through. It's the divorce filing with Wendy, and it's the police interview. And she makes her read stuff because she lies about it. And I show how many times she lies, but she very quickly throws, "Oh, well, my parents were very upset." Or one of the things she says, Josh, I don't know if you saw this one. She goes, "Oh," after she calls her mom.
Yes.
She goes, "Oh, I'm glad that she was surprised." Like, what a weird
thing. So, okay. So I'm glad you brought that up because I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. Because, okay, let's say she knew about everything and was in on everything. Was that just this very elaborate pre-planned phone call that she would make? Or is she not on the phone with them at all? Or because
no, she's on the phone, because you could hear
right.
Donna. My thought is she's a complete sociopath. And what she's trying to do in that entire interview is like cosplay. How would a normal person react to this?
Yeah.
This is my honest thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Like a normal person, but that's just weird because a normal person wouldn't be like, "Oh, I'm glad my mom was surprised." Like, she's so like, I think she's trying to present for us watching this later. She thought this was going to come off good. She thought it was going to come off good, that she that she's suggesting things like, "Oh, maybe it's Charlie." Like, she thinks afterwards, people like, "Oh, it can't be her because she's suggesting this. It can't be her," even though it's weird.
Yeah, it's either one of two things. It's either she's genuinely relieved that her parents aren't involved, which is weird to begin with.
Yes.
Because I tell you what, I would never be in a position where I'd be relieved that my parents weren't involved in a murder of someone. Or she is, like you said, this just next level sociopath that had planned this and knew that was being recorded and wanted to get that reaction out there. Either way, you're looking at a very bizarre, if not, murderous person.
Yeah, I mean, and I've released some videos of her ex-boyfriend Jeff Lacoste, who she very clearly was trying to put this on. She had the hitman rented, in my opinion, tried to put this on because she hasn't been charged yet, in my opinion. But the hitman rented the same exact car that her ex-boyfriend had.
I saw that you put that out. That was interesting.
They broke up, but both times. If you believe Jeff Lacoste, which is her boyfriend, or was her boyfriend at the time before they broke up, if you believe him, you have to believe Wendy is guilty, because he says they break up a week before the murder. They break up, and they're at this like studio. They're in a parking lot, and she goes, "Hey, whoa," and he's walking away. He's like, "Wait, before you go." And she's like, she asked me very detailed questions about when I'm leaving, where I'm going, what route I'm taking, what time I'm going. And he's like, and I would have been driving right by Dan Markel's house at the exact same time. And by the way, the only two times that Jeff Lacoste was leaving out of town was the attempt of the first hit and the attempt of the second hit. So if you believe Jeff Lacoste, which I very much do, you have to believe that she because what other reason could there be that Wendy's like, "Hey, when are you leaving? We just broke up and you're walking to your car, but come back here and tell me." So
no, and he's fully on board with that theory as well. Like him giving that testimony, he believes he was being set up. He believes that that those questions weren't just casual, innocent questions about his, weekend plans. That he now feels betrayed by all of that.
Yes, and I know I've seen some pundits say that they watch him and they think he's this. I put this in the description, like he's this jilted ex-boyfriend and he's just trying to get back to her. But I don't see it. I find him very credible. He's a social worker. He's very credible. I mean, and he says like she had me under her spell. I was under it. He even says like within 48 hours. By the way, he's in the police and he's like, "You need to look at Charlie Adelson. I think this is him." And then he comes back like a year later and he has everything. And he talks about this as a testimony because he has notes he's like, listen, you got to look into these people, and they eventually do. Obviously, they get them, but if you believe Jeff, you have to. So I'm just dying to see, Josh, if they get the testimony from her, and each of her testimony has been different. Georgia, for Wendy, has opened up, has revealed a little bit more about what she has and where she's going. What, guys, if you don't think the prosecution, first of all, to name her a co-conspirator, Josh. By the way, I don't know if you have to go, if you have to like any like
No,
stuff.
no.
Oh, okay. So let me ask you this, as a former prosecutor, to name someone as a co-conspirator without arresting them, why do that? Like, why would they do, like, obviously they think to name her in court filings that she's a co-conspirator. They think they have something, they just don't have enough. That's basically what they're saying, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's funny. The feds do that a lot. They will have, oftentimes they'll have an unnamed co-conspirator. And I think it's just to kind of outline the theory of their case, that they're saying that this person we believe is not a hapless, player in all of this, that they are somehow conscientiously involved and either co-conspiring or know more than they're letting on. But you're right. It is, if that's how you feel, why not go ahead and charge them? Now, the answer to that is that there's a big, oftentimes wide divide between suspicion and what they feel they can actually charge someone with a crime and prove it beyond a reasonable doubt in court. And that might be exactly where we find ourselves here when it comes to Wendy, is that the prosecutors, the investigators, everybody else fully believes in their hearts that she was involved from the get-go, but they don't believe that they have enough beyond a reasonable doubt to prove that in court. And they're not just going to take a chance, because that's not what this system is for.
right. I mean, there's a reason they go very in detail in each trial about how she drives by the Dan Markel's house, out of her way, very much out of her way. There's a reason they're bringing that up. Like, there's a reason. Why would they bring that up? She knew. Why would they think? I think they think that she obviously knows, and it'll be just very interesting because this is a new trial. There's going to be new stuff comes out. We already just saw that text message I read. That is new. There is new stuff that we didn't have before, and that's just one text message. There's other stuff that we read the thing. There's a ledger that's out. There's new stuff that's coming out. So I, in my heart of hearts, believe they're going to get her, but we'll see. And Donna's trial is going to be, interesting just to watch. Even though we've seen them all before, every trial something new comes out. So I hope.
You think? I mean, as we're sitting here talking about it, because you've asked me this before, like if they're, why not indict her now? Why isn't she already arrested? Do you think it's because they're just trying to be cute enough to say, well, if we actually arrest her, then we know we can't get her to testify, because then she's got Fifth Amendment rights. And if
I've seen that theory a lot. Like, let's get her for this last trial.
Let's see if we can get her to come in again without lawyering up and get her to testify again. And then we'll just wait with handcuffs outside of the courthouse once her mom is convicted.
I have seen, and I think you get the testimony out of her, and then Donna is, they got Charlie, they got they're going to get Donna, I think, in this trial. She's the white whale. She's the hardest one. They know this going into it. And they're not going to present her case first, right? You go with the strongest case. They went with Katie Magbano and Sigfredo Garcia. That's the strongest case you have. They have Luis Rivera, who's the other hitman, who has sold them out. They get them. Then they get Charlie. It's still a strong case. Now they're going out of Donna. But Wendy, as far as evidence goes, Wendy's not on the phone. She's not on the bump. Donna doesn't call Wendy and say, hey, she's not in those things. So I still think there's enough, but it's not, obviously it's not, as the evidence isn't as strong against her, but there is evidence against her. And I just, that text message I read is really just blowing my mind. I've seen it. I just saw it recently. People that are, but man, your brother protected you for years. Now you're not guilty. Your lawyer took very good care of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you interpret that in any other way?
No,
than
that's still, that text still has smoke rising from it. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So yeah, folks. And by the way, right about now, Bob is going to be covering the Karen Reed hearing, so that's a big thing. And I'm going to send you guys all over there. I hope everyone is subscribing to Josh. What do you got coming up, Josh? Before I let everyone go, what's your next videos? Or what's coming up?
I got a video. We're releasing tomorrow on Corey Richins. Just kind of doing a whole deep dive into hers, with her trial coming up later on this year as well. And then we're doing our normal Friday episode, and probably more of this. I mean, I'll be poking into your channel. I think I'm going to hop onto to Defense Diaries along with
nice.
you. And yeah, so you know, wherever I can until they fire me from my day job, I'll continue doing this.
Our goal is to make this Josh's regular job, which I think is part of his goal, is to like, this is much better than driving 2 hours to go to a hearing and then driving 2 hours to come
Exactly.
back, right?
Getting barked at by a judge. I'd rather be on the outside laughing at the attorneys and criticizing them than being the actual attorney getting barked at.
Corey Richards, that's an interesting one for folks who don't know that one. That's you know, she allegedly poisons her ex-husband. Let me ask you this: have you covered at all the Shayna Gardner case? Because the similarities to Shayna Gardner to this case are strikingly similar. Have you heard of that case?
No. I'll have to look into that one.
So Shayna Gardner also gets, I mean, it's strikingly similar. Gets divorced, has a new husband. They hire a hitman who happens to be the tenant of her new husband, who kills the dad, who has kids and everything.
Yes, I have heard about this.
Cold-blooded, like he's in the car and they put a tire in the road and I have to look into it more because I don't know all the details, but it's very similar to this case. There was a religion involved, just like this case, so that's another one. But I hope. Oh, Josh hit 4K. Nice, awesome, congratulations,
Thank you, everybody.
Josh.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Love it.
So if you're on the replay crew, all you have to do on my channel is I'll put it in the. I forgot to put it in the description, I think, but I'll put all of Josh's links in there. But all I have to do, I put a little like it's a hyperlink. Make sure you're subscribing to Josh's channel. And like I said, we're gonna come back. We're gonna work on some stuff together because I got a lot of. In addition to Josh getting heat, which was some heat, some of the other feedback was like you guys were great together. I hope you do more streams. So we are absolutely going to do that, and we appreciate you being here for this appearance. If there are any more appearances, I'll definitely cover them. But what do you think? Do you think there'll have to be it'll just be motion work at this point?
Yeah, no, they're going to have to I mean, you know, one of the things that we were barely able to hear on the audio there, but I mean, I'm curious to hear what argument they possibly have about moving courtrooms. But yeah, he gave them a deadline. There are still motions to be heard. So we might hear some more last minute wrangling on this thing.
All right. So folks, we will definitely cover that. We appreciate you very much. Everyone who subbed over to Josh's channel. Thank you. And I just want to quickly thank Carolina, thank you, Legal Mama, and Moy with the $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. And by the way, guys, tomorrow, if it all goes according to plan, me and Bob will be covering the Ashley Benefield Black Swan, which I think Josh is also doing some stuff on too.
Yeah.
So look out for that. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.